Hi, I'm Andrea Holt with IsaBell Horsley Real Estate, and we are in Kilmarnock and Whitestone and Urbana and Deltaville.
How long have you been in real estate?
Well, I've been in real estate for 11 years, and also I sold homes in a 55 and above community prior to that, and I sold homes with Clayton Homes prior to that.
Oh man.
So I've had my real estate license for 11 years, but still have a background in home sales and construction.
Yeah. So definitely been in the sales process. And I was telling you earlier about my background in sales and
Right.
what I used to do, a little bit more high pressure than,
Right.
what you guys were used to. I was kind of
Right.
joking, at least you guys have more than one product to sell.
Right. This is true. When you're selling existing homes, you do have a lot of options
Right. And I mean, I think
sometimes.
that's the thing is just listening to people, right?
This is true. And it also is when I talk to someone on the phone, we have a lot of out of town buyers because people are buying waterfront homes here
Mhm.
and they are second homes to them mostly. But when we're talking on the phone, I can hear what they want when they get here and see what we have, the different locations, um, what the area itself looks like, because many of them haven't even been to the area before, then I can really begin to get a sense of what matters to them.
Right. I know when me and my wife came to the Northern Neck, we bought our property on Craigslist on a weekend and didn't even know
Yes.
what Northern Neck, Virginia was. So,
Yes.
yeah, I would imagine there's a lot of people that do that.
I would imagine. I'm hoping they're coming to realtors though.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's definitely, it pays to deal with a realtor, obviously, because, they can definitely get you into areas that you would otherwise have no idea what's going on and get you ahead of investors. I mean, this is a big spot. I would imagine that investors can pick up homes if they don't, know they're out there really.
This could be. I mean, I know there are investors who make cold calls to people and and buy homes that way. Yes.
You're dealing more in the higher end homes though, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
I,
So,
I am. And here's what I say to people. I don't even want to say this out loud because it affects my income, but I think you could probably sell your home on your own. But in this area, I think everybody needs a buyer's agent because it can be it's an eccentric area. We've got septics, we've got wells, we've got shared wells, we've got shared driveways, we've got road maintenance agreements, and sometimes you don't even know the questions to ask in this area. So it really pays to work with a real estate agent.
I mean, that's true. Coming from where we came from, we had a HOA and we saw HOA in our community and we're like, oh, we do not want an HOA. And they're like, no, this is just for your road maintenance because the state didn't maintain our road or anything like that, which some buyers, that would dissuade them and they'd probably lose out on something, that's a heck of an opportunity otherwise.
Or just something really special at the end of the road. Yep.
And I mean, do you remember how we met?
Honestly, don't have any idea, Josh. All I know is that I don't remember how I experienced it. I can remember that one house had a lot of cloudy windows on it in it, and I was representing the purchaser then, and the seller didn't pay to have those replaced, but you came in and were able to replace all of those windows and really made the house look totally different. And it was quite reasonable, a
Yeah.
lot more reasonable than replacing a whole window.
And I think that's what a lot of people don't know is that repairs exist. Everybody's trained by society and it's just what we know. I mean, if your car breaks, there's repair shops that exist. You don't
Right.
just buy a new car.
Right.
Unless you're my dad, whenever his tires went bad, he'd just trade his car in. But
Okay.
he was an exception.
All right.
Most people don't do that. So with that being said, the hard part of my industry is just letting people know, hey, you don't have to replace your windows. And most windows, I'd say 80% of the windows that get replaced with vinyl windows don't need to be replaced. And I think that's where kind of like what you were just saying in terms of why deal with a realtor. Yeah, you can sell your house on your own, but look at that guy as a case study. If he wouldn't have talked to you and he would have sold his home, how many sales reps would have gone in and taken advantage of that guy and not showed him, hey, you don't have to spend tens of thousands of dollars to replace your windows. You can repair them.
Right. Yep.
And a realtor allows you to get those local connections that you wouldn't otherwise have.
This is true.
The repairmen, I remember coming down to the Northern Neck doing work down here and literally just showing up on time. And people were like, oh my gosh, you're on time. I'm like, what do you mean? They're like, you're not on Northern Neck time. I'm like, what's that? They're like, show up a week later.
Yes. And what happened just recently is I have a client, it's a couple, and they're buying an FHA home. And we had to have some windows replaced to be able to, you can't have a broken window and have an FHA loan.
Right.
And so we had to get 2 windows replaced, and it had to be fast to be able to meet the loan deadline. And so that's where it really comes in handy, because you guys showed up. You showed up when you said you were going to show up. I asked when you could show up, and you said this week, which perfect. It was absolutely perfect.
Right.
So that was before the appraiser came, and that would have been called out, and that would have charged us an additional $125. Not you, but the appraiser, because
Right.
they would have had to come back out for a return visit when they when the window was replaced. But you guys got it done.
Yeah, and that's just being able, because we make the glass in-house, we don't have to order it out in terms of parts and stuff like that. We have those in-house. I remember during COVID, at one point I was selling replacement windows, and the replacement windows went to in excess of a year wait.
Wow.
So I mean, imagine selling an FHA house
Yeah.
and not being able to get a replacement window. And that's where people need to be aware that, you can repair windows. You don't have to just replace them.
Right.
Which obviously, again, back to the realtors, if they have that connection, all of these different people, not just in my industry, but in every industry.
This is true.
I mean, what would you say would be the top reasons that a house fails inspection to begin with? Because I know whenever you get these things on a list, it's not just one contractor you have to deal with as a homeowner. It becomes overwhelming because you have a list of 10 different things now, and you have to go through the checklist. And unfortunately, I've seen so many people just say, I'll just negotiate it, just to take 20 grand off the price. It's like, yeah, but if you would have talked to your realtor and worked through their connections and the people that they know, you would have been 5 grand in. But here they just get so anxious and so done with searching for a house, and they're like, this is the one, I don't care. And it leads them to make bad decisions, unfortunately. So what would be the top reasons that home inspections fail?
So I would say that home inspections don't ever really fail. It's just that buyer and seller can't come to an agreement on they can't come to an agreement on how to fix things. I would say the number one area in our business, in our area, that causes some scared buyers is crawl spaces. And we do have crawl space specialists in this area who can work through that process as well. And sometimes it's not as dire as you think. And sometimes we can work through it, and sometimes we can't.
Yeah, and I would imagine, because I used to do energy auditing, so we dealt a lot with crawl spaces and the right means of remediation, and how you handle them. There's good companies, there's bad companies, there's a whole mix of them. So with that being said, I would imagine when people hear, oh, you have a chance for mold in the crawl space and this, people would just freak out, and that unfortunately, has a potential to lose home sales.
We try not to say mold.
Yeah.
We try to say fungus.
Yeah.
Fungi, or maybe fungi. I think it's fungi. Anyway, we try not to say those things because anything can be fixed.
Yeah, it's just perception.
Buddy, we don't want to alarm anyone when there is a process by which these things can be fixed.
Yeah, and I mean, that's why you have inspections and stuff like that. And, dealing with reputable companies, I've seen too many people, unfortunately, doing what I do even now. You get into the unscrupulous house flippers. And I'll never forget this guy I dealt with a long time ago up in the Baltimore area. I won't talk about him per se, but I did glass repair work for him, and the house was being listed like the day before. And I walked in and the carpet's going water. So I call him immediately. I'm like, hey man, you got a problem over here. He's like, oh no, that thing will be sold tomorrow. I ain't worried about it. And I'm like, this thing just passed inspection and they just put enough on it. I mean, it's scary that that exists, but dealing with reputable companies, that's where it pays. And especially on a home, we used to say, even in the replacement window world, your home is your largest investment. Don't just trust it with anybody. And that's when you were getting work done to it. But when you're acquiring it, I mean, that's again, even when you really have to make sure you're dealing with the right realtor.
Yes.
And yeah, mold's not good. I remember, I shouldn't say not good. It's not, people fear it too much. Perception becomes reality.
It can make you sick.
Yeah, but there's also mold that's just there. The largest organism on Earth is mold. So yeah, it's like this mycelium. It's like a mycelium mat fungus layer underneath grass, and it occupies like 3 states. It's the largest living organism. But when we had a radio show, we used to talk about mold a lot on there, and black mold and stuff. And there's some black mold that means nothing. It's just because you have a damp corner of the shower, and it doesn't mean you're gonna touch it and die. So I would definitely want homeowners not to freak out about mold. Like you said, anything can be fixed.
Right.
So
So I think that the other times that I've really been amazed at your business at Window Hospital. I have some clients, and the house is still not sold. I have to say that that they have this tiny little home that was built in the 50s, and it had sliding glass doors on the back, so it's like an enclosed porch. And all of the panels pretty much were cloudy, and they didn't really want to invest a whole lot of money in that. But when you walk out the door, you couldn't see the beautiful water on the other side of the sliding glass doors. So we got a price from you guys, and I don't remember the price, but of course, sliding glass doors are going to be more expensive to replace than just a sash on a window.
right.
And I thought for sure that they wouldn't say yes to it, but they did. And not only did they say yes to, we definitely wanted them to do the 4 panels that were facing the water, but they did a couple of others as well. So, and they were very pleased with the work. It was a brown frame. I thought, they're not going to do that, but you did. So
Right.
everything really worked well as far as making that just a tiny bit better and showing what the potential of the house was going to be.
And that's what we strive to do. I think that was going to be my next question would be, how do you fix a house on a budget? And that's the prime example. Instead of spending, $3,000 on each sliding glass door where you've probably had 4 of them on the back of that, now you're talking 10 grand for sliding glass doors. Instead of that, you're talking 500, $600 a panel.
Right.
And not all the time do both panels on the doors need to be replaced. So, a couple grand's better than 10 grand. And like you said, if you're able to see the water view and actually get the house sold now, I mean, I would say that would give you a competitive edge over somebody not dealing, with a company like us. And I urge that, if the window hospital is not where you're at, call us up. Honestly, we'll find you somebody, a glass distributor that you can work with, because we were talking earlier, you said, is there a lot of people that do what you do? And I'm like, not really, because they're all glass, mirror, and shower door. Their storefronts are looking for the big contracts. And, I used to do that, but then I started learning, like, you could just give people what they want and you deal with more people and they all come back to you, because then, you have realtors that give you business over and over again. You have property managers that do the same thing. And then you have some customers that, have glass that just breaks all the time, or have windows that continue to fog up over the years. So, I don't want to take up too much more of your time. I appreciate everything. Appreciate, you allowing us the opportunity to talk to you and to do business with you. And we look forward to continuing to do business with you.
Sounds good. And I've always also used you in my home, so that's cool too. My husband's a contractor.
Yeah.
He's really fussy. So
And I think that's the cool thing with what we do. I'm like, we'll work with anybody. I'll give a contractor a glass pack and teach him how, if it prevents him from going to the high pressure sales guys and wasting, $1,500 a window. And that's even what we want to do now, is just show people, even if it's parts, some of your homeowners, we were asking when I was asking you how to fix on a budget. Well, some people can roll up their sleeves and do some stuff themselves. And it doesn't mean major construction. It's literally one screw to pull a balance system out and put a new one in.
Right.
And honestly, we don't want to go out there to do one balance system, but we will. And it's still cost advantageous for the customer to do that because the cost is cheaper than the new window.
And also that reminds me, because a lot of times on a home inspection, windows will bind, and that's what the home inspector calls it. And you guys, don't you do a service where you'll come out and do a whole window check of the house?
Yep, we'll do the tilt latches, the locks, the balance systems, the screens, the glass. The only thing we really don't fix or can't fix is rotted wood. When you get into wood that's just rotted out, I mean, you can mask it, but the right thing to do on those obviously is to replace it. Unless you get, the right guy that's going to come out and sister in wood and cut above the wood rot and then blend it together and repaint and all that kind of stuff. Sometimes there's an advantage to that, but I'll put that in the 15% that will say get those replaced.
Okay.
But yeah, window parts. And again, when you see window issues, people are so predispositioned to thinking, I have to replace them now. And they start adding the cost up. So they might be getting a good deal in the house. And sometimes in the back of their mind, they might just see a pending problem. And, to the realtors that know, it's not a big deal. But again, perception's reality with people and customers,
Yes.
So. Do you have anything to add or anything like that?
I think that's it for
Awesome.
right now.
Sweet.
But I always tell people I got a guy.
And I always tell people if you're in the Northern Neck and you need some houses, luxury, nice stuff, call Andrea. Thank you.
Thank you.